friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special interview that we're doing with Mandy Nettisheim, and we're going to be asking her some questions, picking her mind about some things. I had originally thought about doing this back in early April, and for those of you that are initiated, then you'll know that by the end of April, my life changed a lot, and we actually became more similar than we were prior. But we're going to get into all of that, but I'm going to let her introduce herself to you guys, and we'll get into these questions.
Hello, I'm Mandy Nettisheim. I am the wife of Pastor Matt Nettisheim at Chesapeake Baptist Church in Chesapeake, Virginia. We've been married for over 20, almost 25 years now. And we have 12 children. Our oldest is now 31, so I've been a mother for 31 years, and our youngest is 5. So that's who I am and where God has placed me.
Terrific.
Yeah.
And so, jumping right into these, so in April, I had only a 4-month-old. So, a lot of these questions are, in that realm. So, my first one is, what are your newborn essentials? Because on YouTube, these moms that have just 1 or 2 kids, they have these things, oh, I swear by this, or oh, this is my holy grail item. But you would know better than 99% of women.
Well, the thing is, with baby stuff, over a period of 26 years of me having children, things change.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I would definitely say the lock key car seat stroller,
Okay.
that is a must for moms. That was amazing. And then the nursing wraps, that was something new they came out with.
Okay.
They have them with the hooks or like a skirt that goes over you.
Okay.
And those were amazing. But what I did find out too is you don't need as much as you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping it simple was easier for me. You don't need 20 onesies, and you don't need 10 church outfits. Just keeping it simple. I don't know if that answers your question, but
I mean, well, that's good, because that's kind of the mindset that I like to take, is that less is more.
yes.
And so, some people, they have a bassinet, and then they upgrade to a bedside, a bedside bassinet, and then they go to a crib, and then they go to a toddler bed, and they go to a full or a twin, and it's like they just feel the need to always have all this extra stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or like I've seen these reels or these shorts online where it's like, going on vacation with a kid, and their trunk is like bursting at the seams.
Yes.
And it's just like, so many people really believe that
Oh, yeah.
you have to have all of this stuff for a
Well,
kid.
one amazing thing they came out with was the mini playpen with a bassinet on it and a changing table. So right away you have what you need in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then downsize from that, and then you always have a playpen when you move the child to a crib. So those things were very handy
Okay.
as children. But I did not have those with my early ones. So things have changed a lot. And supposedly made it easier to be a mom.
Yes. Supposedly. Now, this just came to mind. Did you cloth diaper with any of your kids?
I did, my first 3.
Okay.
And I would not do it again.
Really?
I did it out of necessity because diapers then were a lot more expensive, and then we didn't have much money starting out. And my 2 first ones were 12 months apart. So, to diaper 2 children right away was very costly. And so more out of necessity than, nowadays it seems people do it more to save the environment or, things like that. It's not even out of necessity. It's more of, oh, this is what I want to do, So it's totally different.
Yeah.
Than when I started. But I think just disposable diapers is the way to go. It simplifies your life. The more children that I had, the simpler things were. It was less stress on me, which means less stress on the children. You enjoy the baby more and your time together more if you're not worried about washing up diapers all the time.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
And it's funny that you say that, because from all the people that I've talked to that have cloth diapered, and like I know one lady, she has 5 kids, and one friend of mine, he has 3 kids, but I find that cloth diapering is something that people will do for like their first 2, maybe 3. But if they have more than that, it fizzles out.
Yeah.
Because I'm cloth diapering.
Oh, wow.
And
Well,
I
you just have the one to keep up with, so it's not as complicated either,
yeah.
you know.
And so, because I love it, and I'm just like, man, this is awesome. But I find that people they're like, yeah, this is awesome, and then my 3 kids, they're like,
Yes.
Next, real question is, what are your priorities for your day to day?
Day to day. Well, keep the children alive. No, but I don't know. Every season of life is different. When you have a newborn, you really have to focus on feeding that child and taking care of that child. But with no matter what you're doing, your big focus is why are you doing it? We think of our children, and when my oldest hit 13, my perspective totally changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I began realizing this young man is going to be a man. One day he's going to be a father. One day he's going to be a husband. It's my duty to train him and teach him, to prepare him for the life that God has for him. And, your ultimate desire is you want him to serve the Lord. So with all that said, then you need God's wisdom to be able to teach your children and to help them through just simple tasks of life and difficulties. Like your little Mario, he's 11 months old, but he's starting to learn, and he'll start to get curious. And, as he's growing, you have to teach him the yes and no's of life.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, the yes and no's for older children. And where do we find those yes and no's? We find them in the Bible. God gives us that. And so probably priority of every day, it's just to love your family. Everything you do, the laundry is not just washing laundry. It's not just washing dishes. It's not just cooking meals. It's you're loving your family. And why do we love our family? God commands us to.
Yes.
And that's our duty as a wife and a mother, but there's much joy in that and fulfillment, So I don't know if that answers your question either, but your priority in life every day is, I guess, to please the Lord in all you do, whether it's with your family. I like to think of, ladies like to have a ministry and feel worth in a ministry, but the biggest ministry, your first ministry, is to your family.
Yes.
And so you think of it as a ministry and you're doing it for the Lord.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're probably not keeping up with like celebrity gossip and all this stuff.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like, people they watch a lot of YouTube things, which I think is wonderful what you're doing, because that will help a lot of ladies. But I spend very little time even looking. I have no time to really look at that. When I'm looking, I'm shopping on Amazon.
Right.
That's probably my biggest thing on the internet.
Right.
But, when you have a family, you're just busy.
Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up is because just maybe like a month ago now, there's this really popular basketball player named Stephen Curry, and his wife, Aisha, she was in the news because she went on this podcast and basically was saying that the life that she's currently living as being this like glorified stay-at-home life with these 4 kids and just being Stephen Curry's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Like she never really saw herself as being known as Stephen Curry's wife. Like she wanted to be known in her own right and be more like equal-footed with her husband. But her husband is like one of the best basketball players ever, and she's very discontented with just being his wife. And it's like, you are so wise because you're like, well, it's not about you. Your life is about your family. And so many women I see online, they're like, oh, well, I lost myself when I had my kids, and I just don't know who I am anymore, and I feel like I'm not living for me anymore. And it's like, yeah, that's right. You're not. It's not about you.
Yeah.
You did lose yourself. You lost that old version of you because the new version of you was born when you became a mother, and you're a wife, and it's like you're changing.
Right.
And I have felt that.
Well,
Like,
the world has so convinced us that we are nothing unless we are something in the world's eyes.
yeah,
But God created us to be ultimately a helpmeet, and then also gave us the blessing of having children. So then with that, that is our identity. And a lot of people, they're trying to be something that God did not create them to be.
right.
And there's, that might be fun for a while, but in the end, it's emptiness. God created us to be wife and mothers, and what's wrong with that? When I think about like, I have 12 children. And so and I said this at a couples retreat just a few weeks ago, what if I had to sacrifice my whole life, all my joy, all my happiness and everything, just so my husband can be a success and my 12 children could be a success? Wouldn't it be worth it? I mean, wouldn't it really be worth it? Now, I don't feel that at all because I feel very successful. My husband is an amazing pastor.
Yeah.
He's built a wonderful church. God's used him there and continuing to use him. And then I have two of my sons that are pastors and doing very, very well, being used of the Lord. And, so I have 6 married children. I have 22 grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
And they love their Mimi, and I love them. And, and I still have 6 children here that I'm mama to, and what's better than that? And yes, it is work, but life is work no matter what you do, you're working.
Yes.
And, it's investment in a person, which is investment ultimately in eternity, what they do for the Lord, and it's just amazing. But it is work, and it is grueling sometimes. There's times I get tired and maybe don't always have the greatest attitude about it, but it is very rewarding.
Yes.
It's a wonderful life.
Yes, it's fulfilling.
Yes.
Because we all get that hit of dopamine when we get an Amazon package at the door, but that's not going to sustain
you. Oh, I guess that's why I have to get an Amazon package every day. That's my weakness.
It's hard to escape. But yeah, man, like most of these questions are about, as babies and child rearing, but it's like, well, we gotta schedule something else, because like we gotta talk about being a wife, and it's like so many women are deluded.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, am I only just supposed to be a baby maker? And it's like, what a privilege to be able to bring children into the world.
Oh yes, because there are many women that cannot have children that so desire too, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's like only half of the population can. No matter what you hear online, only half the population can have children.
Wow.
And then out of that half, there's a significant portion of women who still can't. And it's just like, what a blessing to be able to have the privilege of being a baby maker. And it's like they talk down on it like it's something beneath them. And anyways,
yeah.
Getting off on a rabbit trail. But next question is, what is your mealtime strategy?
My mealtime strategy. Well, I used to be so organized, like I had the whole month planned out.
Okay.
And I would shop at the beginning of the month, and I would do lots of meal prep and freeze and stuff like that. Not so much anymore. Okay. I like to do a week at a time, because as our life changes too, we just live a very busy lifestyle, and every week is different for our family with what my husband does with pastoring and things like that. And so I like to just plan out for a week, and then, simpler meals on Wednesdays or church, and Sundays are always something that a lot of prep work is done the day before to simplify it. But our family has, if you want to call it a tradition, we sit down for dinner at 5 o'clock typically, and everyone comes, and it's a happy time where we can all be there together. And I am not a fancy cook. I'm a very simple cook. One of my daughter-in-laws said, it's not so much about what you cook. She said it's about the love that goes into it,
Hmm.
and that you're all together, and it's like it's just a special time, you know. And so a lot of families miss out on that, having a meal together where you sit down at the table and everyone's conversing, you know, about their days and whatnot.
Hmm.
So
That's great. Yeah. I listened to this book. It's called The Boy Crisis.
mhm.
How many of each do you have?
I had 10 boys and
Okay.
2 girls.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sure as a mother of a boy, you have a lot of experience with that. But I listened to it, just trying to get into the mind of, how do I raise my son? Because I've never been a boy. Um, and one of the main things that the guy was saying is that it's really important to sit down and have dinner time, with your kids in general, but, and talk to your sons and figure out where their mind is and actually try to get to the heart to heart with them, because so many boys are just kind of floating around in the background and they don't feel like their family loves them, and they don't feel like they have a purpose. And so it's like, there's so many issues right now that are really plaguing males.
Yes.
And so when you have that family dinner time, like one of the things that he was saying is that nothing is taboo, and don't talk over each other, and try not to make everything into a lecture. Just try to listen to your son. And so you save a lot of money in therapy if you just have sit down dinner with your
Yes.
family.
Yeah. Well, a very wise pastor, Jack Trieber, he pastors a church in California. We were in a conference, and he said, "Where is your family raised?" And automatically I want to say, "Oh, church." That's like where they should be raised. But he said the dinner table.
Mm.
And I was like, wow. But you're right. A lot of time just dealing with your children's problems, questions they might have, or concerns they have, and, just talking, and then being able to talk, and there's an open door to talk, they feel comfortable, and,
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
Okay. Kind of moving away from family now. Do you engage in self-care?
You mean like hair, getting my hair done, fingers, nails, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like to get my fingernails done, or I
Okay.
pretty much do my own. I started getting my nails done, and then that ruins your nails.
Mm.
It looks so pretty for a while, but it just ruins your nails. And I did get my hair trimmed last week. So, yeah, I think that's important. I think that we should keep ourselves attractive. If your husband says, "This is my wife," you want him to say, "Hey, this is my wife." So, I don't know if I want you to meet my wife. But my husband, when we first got married, he said, and I was so offended when he said it, but then I thought, I guess I should listen to it. But he said, "Mandy, please don't ever get fat."
Really?
Yes, he did. And I was just like, "What do you mean by that?" But he had 2 of his best friends got married, and their wives had their first babies and just got huge, bless their hearts. And that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But then you kind of have to work on like getting yourself back, together. And sometimes it takes longer than it might for others. But yeah, it's important. Your husband needs you to be attractive for him.
Yes.
So I think we should. Now, I don't think we need to spend gobs of money, on fancy clothes and fingernails and hairdos. But you can be, appropriate and just look nice and cared for.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is you are so smart. I'm so glad we did this. Because even Mario, I hadn't gotten crazy big, and I don't know. I mean, my mom and Mario, they kind of agreed more that I had kind of let myself go. But sometimes he would look at me, and he would look at my eyebrows, and he would say if you wanted to, you could go get your eyebrows done. Or if you wanted to, you could go get a pedicure. And I was and I was just so focused, because the way we had divided things was that he made all the money, but I would be the one who actually went in and paid the bills.
Yeah.
And so I would always say, well,
You're more worried about the money, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking, well, no, this is due on the 15th, and that's due on the 11th, and we have to put this away for that. And it's and like you said, it's not about spending all this money.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can go and get some press-ons for $5.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they have those masks that you can put on at the dollar store, and now like 'cause- and now I kind of have seen that like I've bought a few things. I'm learning how to do my own hair,
Right.
and I've just I got a walking pad, and so I'm trying to stay in shape and just trying to do better. And so it's like it's so smart. And then but once again, like this world, they'll tell you, oh man, I can't believe that you listen to your husband, and oh man, like he told you not to get fat, like they just so many women, like they have contempt for their husband, like it's like they want to get as fat and sloppy as they can just to
Oh.
force him to stay with them. It's just like men are visual.
Yes, they are.
They
God
want-
created them that way.
They
Yes.
want you to look nice.
Yes.
And what's the harm? Because these same women, they'll get divorced and then go get fined for the next guy that they want to try to trap. It's crazy. It's actual clown world. Okay, next one is, what would be the perfect gift for you?
For me, oh my, like one thing or just in general?
Hmm. I mean, what do you get for the woman who has 12 kids? You already have all the blessings, but
I like sentimental things. Like I had a dear friend of mine, she heard that when I was a child, my favorite stuffed animal was a raccoon, and I loved raccoons. So she got me a raccoon necklace.
oh,
And I mean, that was, I don't know, to me, that's just so precious, and just also like when my older children, when it's not even about the gift they give me, but if they write me a note or a card and write a note on there, that kind of thing means a lot, so probably more sentimental things. I
Okay.
don't know.
that's nice. That shows your heart.
Yeah,
About where your heart is, where it's like, it's the thought.
yeah,
You want a thoughtful
for
thing.
sure, yes.
Okay, so back to kids now. Next question is, have you ever experienced a miscarriage? And I'll let the audience know why I'm asking. And the reason why is because I forget, I don't know the exact numbers in front of me. Maybe I can like put them on the screen. But the number of women who are experiencing this is growing like every year, and I've experienced one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, being that you are so blessed to be able to have 12 biological children, is that something that you ever had to deal with?
It is. And it's a very difficult thing to go through as a woman. I had 7 children before I ever experienced it.
Okay.
And after 7 kids, I thought, okay, I'm done. That's a lot of kids, I was busy. And I had 5 boys in a row, and it was just like, it was rough, just caring for them. And then I had a surprise. But surprises, it's never a surprise. The Lord always knows. And about 14 weeks, I started losing that baby.
Mm.
And that was very, very difficult for me to go through because I'd never experienced it. And sometimes it's like, it's hard because people around you don't understand. And sometimes your husband doesn't quite understand because he just has a different perspective. Because in a man's eyes, they will, okay, this is what God's decided, and I'm okay with this. But for us, it's our bodies, it's part of us. And when you lose a part of us, it's how you feel as a female. And so it's a very difficult thing to go through, and it just takes time. Physical healing, mental healing, emotional healing, so it's different for a lady to go through than what her husband would experience.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you want people to know, sometimes you don't want people to know. Sometimes you want people to be sympathetic, and sometimes you would rather them not say anything at all.
Right.
So it's hard to help someone through that, as well as it's hard to make it through yourself.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and for what I found was that I was 11 weeks when mine happened, and I had told my church. Well, I think I had even posted it on social media. I think because I think I found out maybe like the end of March of like 2022 or 2023, and so that Mother's Day I had announced it. So that was like maybe like the beginning of April or something like that. So I wasn't that far along, but I still told a lot of people, and they tell you not to do that. They say don't announce it until you're like in your second trimester. But I was just like, oh, like whatever. Like because it didn't even occur to me that I could have miscarried. Like I wasn't even thinking like that. And so, but the blessing of that was that because people knew that I was, and then I had to announce that I was no longer pregnant, a lot of women that I had known told me, oh, well, I had a miscarriage too, and it'll be okay. And it's like, oh, I never knew that. Like so many women around me in my church and in my life, I had no idea that this was like the sleeping giant going on in the women's community that I'd never even thought about.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had 12 children, but I lost 3.
Oh, 3.
So, that's quite a few. Yeah. Because I lost that one, and then 6 months later, I lost another one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I had 3, and then I lost another one, and had 2 more. So, yeah.
And it's just, a lot of people, if you don't ever, announce that you're pregnant, or if you don't tell anyone, I feel like, because the Bible says, to rejoice with those who are rejoicing, but to also mourn with those who are mourning, or weep with those who are weeping. And so you have to give people the opportunity to weep with you. And so, I was thankful that I had told people because it gave people the opportunity to show up for me. Okay, next one is, and this kind of goes back to where we were just talking about with the appearance, is that, do you feel like you've been able to get your body back to a place where you feel good about how you look?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes some pregnancies were harder afterwards, and some were easier without trying.
Okay, and the next one kind of goes along, like piggybacking off of that, is like, how long did it take for you in between pregnancies? And like I was saying before, I had written these questions up in April, but just recently, there's this really big influencer online. Her name's Nara Smith, and she's like 23 or 24, and she just had her 4th baby. And like 2 weeks after she had given birth, she took a picture with the baby, and she was wearing this crop top, and her stomach was flat. And like the internet erupted. They were like, she secretly had a surrogate. Like, she's awful. And they already don't like her because she's like rich and beautiful, and she's a model, and she's married and has 4 kids. And so they just hate her. But I mean, she just looked incredible. And so.
Well, some women's bodies, they just bounce back, like, And some women, they don't even look like they're pregnant until they're like in their 3rd trimester, or, right there at the end of the 3rd trimester. And then, some ladies, it takes them forever to get their bodies back.
Yeah.
But God just makes us all different.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was very blessed. It was pretty easy. Now after my last 2, because I had one at 40 and one at 45,
okay,
that was very challenging to get my hormone levels back, before they came back to normal, and then making it harder and more challenging to get the weight off in my body back to, how I liked it or whatever.
Right.
And so then you have to just kind of accept the new you, but you can be a healthy you.
Yes.
It's not always so much about your weight or size, but are you healthy? Do you feel healthy? Are you eating healthy? Are you taking care of yourself? Those things.
So, like, did you do like the belly bands, or did you? Like...
No. No, I was awful. Now with my first 3, I did step aerobics. I was really into step aerobics. And I mean, I exercised 5 days a week, and I could still, before I got pregnant with my first, I weighed 115, and I could still never get down to under 135.
Okay.
And I wish I was 135 now. But back then, I was probably more obsessed with it. But like since then, I mean, like I'll do my bike rides occasionally. I go in spurts, and I probably should be more pointed at exercising, but I really don't. I don't take time for that now. And I never really did, the sit-ups to get my stomach, back flat. I wouldn't say I have a flat stomach,
okay,
or anything like that. And from what I've heard, it's actually better that you don't.
Okay.
Because it allows your uterus just to kind of fall out like when you're pregnant again, rather than getting those muscles all back tight and everything like we try to get. It's not as good for your pregnancies. And
Oh,
I could be wrong about that, but I've heard that it's healthier not to do it, to have the tight stomach muscles because, you know,
because you're
I don't
gonna
know.
get pregnant again anyway.
Yeah, I guess so. I
Okay.
don't know.
Because I thought about that. Like, I would like to get remarried and have more kids. So it's like, I'm putting all this effort, want to get, snatched and, get my body right. And then, like, in 2 years, I'm going to get pregnant again. So it's like, like, what really is the point? So that does make sense. Next one is, did you find breastfeeding as an effective form of birth control?
No.
No. You said that your first one is 12 months from your second one?
Yes. Yes, and then, and then I have two that are 14 months apart.
Okay.
And I mean, was nursing full time, both of them. So, I mean, yeah, it didn't work for me.
Okay.
I do have friends that it works for them, but not for me.
Okay.
So,
Alrighty. Do you have any tips for milk production?
no,
Nothing in particular?
no. I always just ate good and drank lots of water and never had an issue with any of mine. So,
Okay. And you breastfed all of them?
no.
Okay.
All of them but two.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, for me at first, I don't think it was a milk production problem. I think it was just figuring out just how to get I think it was a latching problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because for him, he was latching on this side, but then this side he wasn't, and it would hurt, and so I just couldn't figure it out, or maybe vice versa. Maybe this one was good, and this one he was wouldn't latch, and so I was just so panicked, and I felt frantic, he's not eating, he's just gonna wither away, and so I think my milk production was fine, but I think it was just an issue of just making sure that he's latching and
Right.
not hurting, because I was so adamant about breastfeeding. I was like, this is gonna work, and I'm gonna make this work because I really wanted to do it this way because I wanted to do the whole holistic thing, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was stress is never good. So
No.
stressing about latching and milk production is not gonna help anything. So I guess the next question is, how did you make pregnancy more enjoyable? But I guess a background question would be did you find were your pregnancies hard, or do you feel like they were kind of smooth or different?
My last two were very difficult.
Okay.
They were my 40s. Mama always took her naps.
Okay.
That was a big thing, just taking my naps and trying to do what I needed to do to get myself, through the pregnancy. But I mean, what was the question again? Something that helped me through it?
Yeah. How did you make it
Or-
more enjoyable?
More enjoyable. Well, the first part, you feel miserable. You're throwing up a lot of times, and you're just,
Right.
Oh, I would buy stuff specifically just for me that did make me feel better, that I did like to eat. And so, Mama had her special stuff, and and then the middle part was very enjoyable because you're getting over the sickness and you feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And the last part is just, you're almost miserable.
Yeah.
But just focusing on the goal. What is the goal here? God's given me a baby. This too shall pass. It's going to be good. And I don't know.
Okay.
It's just, sometimes pregnancy is tough.
Yeah.
It's hard to be pregnant. It's not easy. And then, to say you're looking forward to labor, some people talk like that. That was never me. It's just and the last two, I was like, what did I get myself into again?
Oh, man.
Labor's tough, it's tough. But, yeah.
Okay. All right. Did you ever experience any I forget the term, but the excessive nausea, the hypodermis?
No.
Okay. Okay. And then lastly, on the topic of motherhood, is do you have any tips for upping your fertility or helping you conceive, any supplements, anything like that you took?
I never had to worry about that.
Okay.
God was good to me.
Just prayer.
Too good to me. Well, and part of it too is just trusting the Lord. The Lord knows what's best. you know, we had our first 7, and then just, and I think every mother goes through a period of just feeling overwhelmed. It's a lot to have little ones, and just trying to get it all, sorted out and get your routine. And so you can become overwhelmed. So at that time, I just felt like, okay, I don't want any more. And then, I decided I don't want any more. Well, what does God want?
Right.
We should always ask God what He wants. And obviously, He wanted us to have more. He gave me that number 8. And, when I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to cry. So I thought, well, I need to go talk to a pastor's wife because I don't want to tell my husband and him see me cry because he would be ecstatic. He still to this day would want to have more kids if we could. But so I told her, and she prayed with me, and then I was able to talk to my husband. I didn't cry, and so for a while I kind of was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
That feeling, and I just asked the Lord to just help me because I know He knows what's best. And at 14 weeks, He chose to take that baby from me. So for me, that was difficult because, I thought you wanted me to have one, then you take it away, but then I think God was trying to teach me it's not about you deciding, it's about what I know is best.
Right.
And God always knows what's best. And then obviously, we can't have children now, and a lot of people ask, well, how do you know when you come to that point where you're not going to have any more? And that's something you have to come to peace with God, and obviously God made that decision for us, just because of my health and things that happened with my last pregnancy. But that's a question a lot of people will ask, and I don't think it's a cut and dry question. I think it's very personal between you and the Lord. What the Lord gives you peace about. So.
Right. Because you still have to think about your overall health and to keep that in account.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so now we are going to change gears and get into the second half of the interview, which Miss Mandy, like I was saying, that by the end of April, she and I were more similar than we were at the beginning, which is that actually her first husband tragically passed away. And so do you want to give a little bit of information about that? Or
I can if it will help. I was 23, and David and I had been married for 5 years, and we had our son Jonathan was 4, Benjamin was 3, and my daughter was a year old. And my husband was killed in a car accident, and so I remember going out to meet the officer that had been on the scene. And I remember him saying, David's dead. And I remember telling God, okay, God, you made this decision, so you have to take care of us. And to me at that point in my life, it was as simple as that, God was going to take care of us. And He has. I don't know if that's a good start.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that gave me some more information, because I just knew, like, I remember you just saying that, like, in passing, but I didn't know all the details.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, mine was a car accident as well. So, okay, so the first question along the lines of that is, what were you doing to cope with that? Like, did you develop any new habits? Did you go on vacation or anything? Like,
no, what helped me, well, having my children, which is a blessing. You have Mario Jr., because just staying with a normal routine from day to day, that really helped. When I would get out of my routine was when I really got down and struggled more. And obviously, there's much sorrow. You go home, he's not there. You sit at the dinner table, he's not there. You go to bed, he's not there. So, like, things that the kids and I would do, we would have slumber parties. So I didn't have to sleep by myself, and that did help. one thing that I did miss out on in the beginning is I just kept feeling that I don't have a family,
Mm.
which it took me almost a year to realize I had a family. I still had children, I still had a home, and we were a family. And so that really helped me once I realized that, getting to that point and then having our family meals still and, going to the park and just different things that you do as a family together, you know.
Okay, that's good. For me, what I've been doing is that because I didn't have a whole lot of routine. I mean, I guess I had some things, but I had recently found this new friend group, like this mom group that I had started hanging out with, just like literally a month before he passed. And so I just really kind of poured more into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started hanging out with another mom group. And I just found that like filling up my day with new fun things,
Yeah.
that's really been helping me. Um, how long was it before you started dating again? And what was it that made you feel like you were ready to start dating again?
Well, that's kind of a funny roundabout story. I once David died, I had three young children. I was 23. How old
Yeah.
were you?
I'm 27,
27.
but I was
So
26 in April.
yes, I mean, when you're young, you you just really need to be with somebody again, and there's nothing wrong with thinking that. Obviously, you want to be with the right somebody who God wants you to be. So I had decided in my mind that, okay, I'm going to mourn for a year. And then after that, I'm going to find me a husband.
Okay.
So, and I mean, that's my mind frame. I'm just telling you what I was thinking. So then, after a year, and my father-in-law was a pastor, and he would go to all these conferences, and he knew all these pastors. And so I was just always like, be gone looking for someone. And then anytime he would hear of someone, and I just kept trying so hard, so hard. Well, after 6 months, like not meeting anyone. And I just couldn't believe it. Just absolutely no one that was, just nobody. And so then I just got so consumed with it. It just really, I got mad at God. And there was one time I just took my Bible and I just shut it and I was like, don't talk to me anymore. I'm done.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, had gotten so much to that point that, just, I guess, so angry with God and so disappointed. Anyways, it drove me to deep depression and a lot of issues. And I sat in the doctor's office, and praise the Lord, he was a Christian doctor, and he said, you need to take this medicine, for your depression and anxiety and da da da. And I said, Dr. Abernathy, it's not a physical problem as much as it is a spiritual problem. I need to get myself right with the Lord. And rather than looking for the right person, I need to be the right person. And so I went home and I just started poring over the Bible and just spending time with God again. And within 6 months, because my mind frame, I was not even thinking about being with anybody else during that period of time. I just given it all to the Lord and stepped away from it. I flew out here to Virginia Beach and was doing a recording in honor of my first husband. And the Lord brought me and my husband now back together, but was totally not even expecting it, not even looking for it, and almost didn't even want it. At that time, it just was the furthest thing from me. And so I don't think it's bad to want to be with someone, but we can't let it so consume us that, we don't keep our eyes focused on the Lord and what he wants for us and when he wants it for us. I look at my life as like God just took me out of that life and moved me to this life. And it's an amazing life. And it's easy for me to look back 25 years ago now And for you, it would be more difficult because you're still in the midst of that, and you're still by yourself. But if you can just stay focused on the Lord, and He'll bring you through that, in 25 years from now, you'll look back and you're like, wow, it's just amazing.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because, like, I saw you at the chili cook-off, and I had wanted you to come on the channel and to talk about motherhood, and like because I've always wanted a lot of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and so when I found out that you had 12, I just thought that was so admirable, and you still you look so put together, and you don't look tired and haggard, and it's like you just have such a, what I would say, like, you're winning, and so. And it's just like, yeah, like you're a good role model, and so, when this happened, I thought about you, and I was like, oh man, like, she would give me some good advice, and it's just like, I think about my life, and I think, and I know a woman who, she has recently become a widow, in, I think, at the beginning of September, and so it's like, it's like, at the end of the day, like, what is the point of us being here as Christians? It's like, the reason why we're not immediately raptured up is because we got to get more people saved.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to get other people saved because we live in a fallen world and people need to get saved.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, also part of living in this fallen world is that things are going to happen.
Yes.
And as a Christian, things are going to happen to me where I can give advice to someone and they can be blessed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like how I got saved, and then I can give that salvation to someone else. So it's like I'm walking through this valley so that I can then help someone else who live in a fallen world and things just happen, and I can bless them. And so it's like, 25 years ago, you didn't think that, you would be ministering to someone who would then be in your position.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's it's just one of the, I guess, the beautiful things about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's great. And then the next question is, I wasn't sure if you had any of your children from your first marriage, but since you did, how did you go about letting them know, or I guess like explaining to them your husband, and like, I mean, all your kids kind of look similar, so there wasn't like a drastic difference, like, some of your kids are brown and then your other kids are white. But like, how did you go about explaining that to your kids as they got older?
About their daddy?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Jonathan was 4. He really is the only one that remembers his daddy,
Mm-hmm.
much at all. And so when they were younger, like around on his birthday, we would always let balloons go. But then God brought Matt into our lives, and he became their daddy. And I think it was good that they were younger. And it's not that we never talked about David,
Okay.
but you have to move on. And I know, like, with you being the wife, me being the wife, that we won't ever forget. Still, when it hit me hard, and it was on a Sunday this year, the day that David died. And so I had briefly thought about it in the morning, and the thought fleeted away, and I had a wonderful day. But then we were in choir practice, and we were practicing a song about heaven, and it just ripped through me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had to leave because I couldn't get control of the crying.
Wow.
And that was 27 years ago. And I don't think that we need to put a display, and put him up as an idol in our home. But at the same time, we don't want to completely forget him. But when you get married, you're committing your life to another man, and you have to set that aside. And the same for your son Mario. It's not that you want him to forget his daddy, but at the same time, God's given this new man in his life to be his daddy. Because when you get married and you come into the relationship with children, they're not my children. They're supposed to be our children.
Right.
And, you know, Matt and I, we came to a lot of agreements about that. You know, he didn't want them to be his stepchildren, and then we have, they're my children, and then we have our children.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
we're family. And, you know, you have to just take him on as that's your husband. You know, you can't be dwelling on your husband that the Lord took away, you know, because it will affect the relationship you have
Right.
with your next husband. So that's important too.
Yeah, and I think about it a lot in my situation because of course, you know, you have to eventually move on, and then I mean you can compartmentalize where it's like, you know, I understand that this is gone and it's never gonna come back, and then you know you can move forward in that regard. But I guess my main reason for asking the question in regard to your kids is like for Mario, he's the third, and so and then like I'm still very much active with my husband's family.
That's good.
And so it's like, okay, well, I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know. And that's why the Bible says, you know, take no thought for the morrow, because sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. Because I'm always thinking about, oh, like, you know, when he gets other siblings and, you know, I'm going to get married. And then what if that guy wants me to move across the country and then he's not going to be able to see Mario's family and then he's not going to know them. And it's like all this other stuff. And like, one thing I think about a lot is his name. Is that, like, his name is Mario Antron Jones, the third. And so it's like, okay, well, if I get remarried and my last name's going to change, like I'm supposed to, you know, take my husband's last name. So it's like, well, then now Mario is the only Jones.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now he's the oddball out. And then like, you know, his other siblings, they're going to be, you know, a Smith or whatever. And so it's like, well, I want to be like my siblings. I want to be like my family. Or
Well, I will tell you, like our older children, Jonathan, I think it was like his 16th birthday, and his daddy was asking him what he wanted for his birthday, and he says, I want my name legally changed.
Oh.
But we always called him Annetta Sign because he was, you know, but his last name was different than the rest of us. You know, John, Ben, and Andrea all had Stanfield as their last name, and so he requested that. We just called him Annetta Sign, but never changed it legally, but he said, I want to really be Annetta Sign. So that meant a lot to him to feel, I don't know, made him feel more part of the family. I don't know.
Yeah. And some more celebrity gossip that doesn't matter. is there's a singer named Sierra, and she's married to a football player named Russell Wilson. And Sierra, she has a child from a relationship that she had with another musician, and that child is named after that musician. And recently, it was in the news that Russell, her husband, changed the boy's last name to their last name. So now that boy's name is Future Wilson, like Russell Wilson. And so people were saying, like, you know, how could Future let this happen? And, you know, why would he let, you know, Russell change his son's last name? And it's like, well, did anyone consider that maybe the boy wanted his last name changed?
Right.
So that way he would be in lockstep with the rest of his family?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, I mean, I can't change Mario's name to Mario Smith the third, because he's not. So it's like, you know, he'd want his whole name to be changed. And so it's like, you know, at the end of the day, whatever comes of that, I'm not going to worry about that today.
Yes.
But yeah, because it's just like.
But those are all things you think about.
Yeah. And so, and then like MJ, he looks so much like his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, as he gets older, he's probably going to look a lot like him. So.
Oh yeah, my oldest looks exactly like his daddy.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah, but, you know, just things to think about, you know, when it comes to like, because even though your other two kids from him, like, they don't remember him, but, you know, they still have their own grieving process, you know, that I'm sure they had to walk through in their own regard. And then, lastly, I appreciate so much of your time, is what advice do you have for young widows? Like, you know, I mean, people are always giving unsolicited advice. So, like, you know, like, people they'll say, like, oh, you know, you need to get back out there. And they'll say, you know, you need to get back out there. Or, oh, you know, you should do this or you should do that. And I've been in these grief classes. And, I mean, I like them enough. But the number one reason why I go is because I know that I would have told Mario to go to a grief class had the roles been reversed. And so I'm going because it's like, can't be a hypocrite. So like I go to these classes because I know I would have told Mario to go. But like, did you do any classes? Did you do any therapy?
I didn't. My
Okay.
thing was just spending time with God. And probably the most therapeutic thing, I played the piano.
Oh,
And I would just play and play and play and play. You know, the kids would go to bed and they would go to sleep with me playing just because that just kind of, would calm me down. And I would just kind of go autopilot, not thinking about any of that. And, it's a difficult time. I wish probably that I would have had someone that I could talk to, you know. I did have one lady I talked to, but she was a single mom, a divorced single mom. Her and I were similar in that we were raising children alone, but for different reasons, you know. But yeah, and I guess probably most of my life I've just really, when I've struggled, I just took it to the Lord. And I don't know. I had family that I would talk to, but that wasn't always helpful.
okay.
So, yeah, and I was in a very small church, so there wasn't, much help there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if that really helps you at all. Sounds like you found a place where you can go and talk and get advice and.
Yeah, I like it. My pastor's wife recommended it, and I think it's nice to just have like a consolidated group where, because I feel like eventually, even your close friends and family, like they might get tired of hearing about him, or people they might, I don't know. I feel like eventually it gets to the point where you might not be ready to move on in a certain regard, but you can always go to this group, and you can always be just as as sad as you want to be or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I like that.
I know I felt myself, there would be times where I just wanted everybody to treat me like normal rather than a widow. And then there were times I would go revert back to, well, don't they know I'm by myself, and I'm hurting and, so you kind of go back and forth the way you're feeling. But like it helped me just doing what I'd always done. David and I, we had a bus route. So me and the kids, we kept doing the bus route. I taught Sunday school class. I played the piano at church. Just doing those things that I'd always done, helped me. And then it was nice because that was our bus route. I could still continue it on, with the kids that we had on the bus route and things like that. So I don't know. I guess everyone goes or deals with it in a different way. Just where you are in your life, and
Well, that's good. I know a guy who lost his dad a while ago, and he plays the piano. And so when you saying that brought him to mind that I don't know if he does it as therapy, but he plays, and that kind of like soothes him.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I really appreciate this. I think that this has been great. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have and gleaned some very good wisdom from it. Do you don't do any social media or podcasts or anything?
No.
Right. Okay. Do you have anything you want to shout out? Give the name of the church again?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, thank you so much.
Yes.
I'll let you know about what the people have to say about it, and be sure to leave a like on this if you guys like this and you guys thought that this was really valuable information. Be sure to leave a comment, and then I can ask her anything later on and maybe relay that back to you guys. And be sure to share the video so any other women who need this information can have it for them. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.